Hi, everybody. My name is Jenny, and if you are following me on my yearly goal tracking, or if you would like to, just click like and subscribe. And you can also follow me on my 2025 goal check-in, accountability, encouragement, whatever. Like, we'll share encouragement, things like that on here. But basically, I'm doing this for my own accountability so that I have a place to look back and see how I'm doing, to know for sure that I am moving forward. So my goal for the last 2 years, if you want to sum it up into just one big category or whatever, is just to be a good steward. Be a good steward of what God gives me, whether that be, the spiritual gifts that He gives us, or just like monetary things that we have. Because life is busy, life happens, and we don't use what we have. We don't use our resources to better ourselves, to better others, to help others. So yeah, that has been my goal, to be a good steward of what God gives me. But like all New Year's goals, like all self-help goals, they kind of fall into a lot of categories. So last year I started this in 2024, and I am continuing. It was not a 1-year plan, but I live in the United States. I have access to God's word, where I know there are lots of places all over the world where people don't have, God's word readily available and accessible to them. I can read, I have one, and there is no excuse for me not reading my Bible more. And so, just to familiarize myself with what God actually says. And in this world today, that is so, so important, because even if I don't understand it, at least if I'm familiar with where things are, what is actually in the Bible, when I do hear things, I can more easily discern, if it's actually biblical or not. So anyway, I started that in 2024, and I am continuing that for 2025. And I made it just not quite halfway through in 2024. So, but my goal for this year was to read more days than last year. So, thankfully, I kept track. I kept a log of what I read, the date, and what I read every single day that I read my Bible last year. So, my goal for this year was to read it more than last year. So, now last year I did not keep track of how long I read my Bible each day. This year I'm also tracking that, like the minutes that I read. And I do know for sure that I am reading more minutes this year overall, because I'm trying to read 30 minutes every time I read my Bible. That doesn't always happen. I'd rather read for 10 than none if I have the opportunity. But I know last year, the majority of time that I read my Bible, it was a certain time slot that I had, and I know it wasn't a 30-minute time slot. So I know I've read more minutes this year, but I've also read more days. Like, I have pulled my Bible out and read it more actual days. So in January of 2024, I read it 15 times. This year, I only made it one more day, guys, but one more day this year was that was still progress. That was moving in the right direction. So this year, I read it 16 days in January. February, I did a little better. 2024, I read it 10. This year, 13. March, guys, last year in 2024, I only read it 3 days in March. And I was like, what happened? How could I have only read it 3 days in March? And I don't know if it's just because my term in school ends at the end of February, and I'm always just like, okay, like I got to the end of the term, and then I usually take a couple weeks and read for pleasure, do some things, work on a craft, something that I still wanted to do. And so I guess that took up some time, because this year I did better, but I only read it 6 days in March. And I'm like, that's crazy. I don't know what it is about March. But anyway, because it's still, where I live, it's still kind of cold and yucky most of the time in March. Well, in April, in 2024, I only read it 9 days, which is a lot more than 3, but still manageable to beat that. So far, it's the 14th. If I read it today, that will be 7. So I still have to read it 3 more days past today before the end of March to be 1 more than last year. But that's okay. It's totally doable, totally manageable. I will make it. So another area that a lot of people work on is health, like being healthier, losing weight, things like that, being more in shape. That I did not start in January. I kind of pushed that off. For the last probably 3 years, I have been gaining weight. Like, I switched jobs, and it's just like a much calmer, more peaceful atmosphere. And so, like, I've just, there's been some health changes, and I feel like the combination of those things, like, I've really packed on the pounds like the last 3 years. So, I knew, though, as busy as I was at the first of the year, trying to finish up the current school term that I was in and everything, it wasn't going to happen just yet. And that's okay. It is okay to not work on everything all the time, as long as you're making progress and moving forward. Am I going to do better this year than I did in 2024? It looks like I'm already doing better. So one thing that I feel that I can fit into my schedule right now, as far as health goes, I have been doing a better skincare, tooth care system at night, which I've always had to take pretty good care of my teeth. I have a lot of dental issues, but I have, if it ends in intist or ontist, I have one. So anyway, yeah, I have a periodontist, an endodontist, a dentist. I had an orthodontist. Yeah, like, anyway, a lot of people work on my mouth. But I've added skincare to that routine. And guys, I sell Mary Kay, and I have been so bad about like keeping up with my skincare, and it really, really does make a difference. Like, especially the skincare routine that I'm on now is more similar to the one we had previously, only actually improved a little bit. And I love it. I can tell a difference. Like, I've been writing down, like, when I started it, I've been doing this for about a week now. I'm going to be honest, I've missed a couple of days of my nighttime skincare, but in that week's time, but I can still tell a difference. I can tell that I was, my skin was starting to look more run down and old, and I was looking tired. And in just that 1 week, and like I said, it's probably only been like 5 or 6 days because there were a couple days I missed, and I can already tell a difference. I don't know if other people can, but I can. And it makes me feel better when I go through that. I was actually watching a video from the 1950s that it was like, or maybe it was even like the 30s or 40s. I don't know. It was an old time skincare routine. And there's so much truth to just taking care of yourself and getting ready. It's like, it promotes good sleep hygiene to, like, get prepared for bed and relax and wind down and do something besides be on a screen before bed. And part of that is my skincare, because then, I'm clean and fresh, and, I have the skincare that's going to do repair overnight while I'm sleeping. And it gets you ready and relaxed for bed. So, I feel like that's made a huge difference in not only my skincare, but my sleep as well, which also improves your look and your health. So, along with that, and this also falls into, skincare falls into, for me personally, into using my resources, because like I said, I sell Mary Kay. I have purchased a stash on hand that my customers use. That way, whenever they call and they need something, I have it. I also keep what I use on hand. I have it. It is sitting in my house, already paid for. There is not one reason why I should not be taking advantage of that. There are people who would absolutely love to have the appropriate skincare for their skin type to take care of their face. And here I am just not using it. It's paid for. It's sitting in my house. There's no reason. So that goes along with being a good steward. This next part of being healthy, we are starting to eat healthier here. My daughter, she's an adult. She lives here. She's going to grad school. She is really, really starting to be interested in being a little bit healthier too. So we've been cooking healthier meals just recently. I'm starting now. Some of our meals are still not going to be healthy because sometimes we just need quick, sometimes we just need cheap, and it doesn't always work out to have healthy. But we're trying. We have thrown away so many produce items that just didn't make it because we didn't take time to do anything with them. So even if I bought it for something and we're not going to get to make that, we'll eat the fresh produce. So we're being very purposeful and packing our lunches so that we can use the things that we have and do, better for our bodies, better for our budget, things like that. Where I need to improve though, we kind of went off the rails on the grocery budget. I mean, inflation has been crazy. You all know that. It's just been absolutely nuts in the last year. I have not been able to stay within the grocery budget that I've had for years. And not only have I not been able to stay with it, I was able to save our extra grocery money out of the budget that we didn't use for a vacation in the past 3 or 4 years. And not only can I not add to that, I'm having to use out of, I'm going over the budget and having to take that money from somewhere else. So we really, really, truly need to buckle down on that. And I think with this eating healthier, being more purposeful, I think that is going to help. We're just going to have to, we have to do it. We're going to do it. We can do it. So cooking goes along with the budget. Honestly, as far as the rest of my budget goes, last year I've been on a wrapping paper buying freeze because we had too much. And, to be a good steward, we need to use what we have. I've used up a ton of wrapping paper, guys, tons of wrapping paper, and I'm so proud of myself. I am allowing myself to buy wrapping paper again this year, and I know that sounds silly. It's just wrapping paper, but to me, it's a big deal. But I'm on a book buying freeze. Now, I say that I have bought books for my future classroom, my classroom now, and possibly future classroom, because I don't know what grade I'm going to be teaching. So if I do find books that I love or I feel like could be used to teach a lesson on something, I'm still picking those up. If I think they would just be good classroom books for kids to meet their AR goals, I have picked up a few to build my library. I'm trying to stay kind of within a range of around 4th-ish grade. That way, if I end up teaching 1st, then I have some really high readers. If I end up teaching 6th, then have some lower readers. I'm still in that range. So anyway, but other than that, for myself, no. I have read 2 books out of the enormous stack of books I have to read. Some of them I have purchased, some of them my mom has purchased, some of them my daughter has purchased, some have been from little free libraries that I've picked up and not read yet. So I have a huge stack. I'm going to work through those. I've already read 2 this year. So my goal is so funny. My nephew's like this too, because he is also in school, in grad school, and he sets goals and he's like, okay, if I do this, then I get to do this. So one of mine is when I finish a class, I can read 2 books. So that's what I did. I finished my last class. I read 2 books. I read the postcard. I read the postcard and I read the operators, something like that. I'll do a book review later, not today, where I'll give you the authors and stuff. They were both very good. They're historic fiction. It's kind of been what I've been into lately. I love to switch genres. I've been really into historic fiction, and I have a huge stack of historic fiction to read. And now I'm kind of switching gears just a little bit, to some books that kind of cross over from, they may have some minor historic fiction aspects, but they're mainly about present day, faith-based books. But I'll get to it. It might not happen till 2026 because I'm on a book buying freeze. But yeah, so that seems to be my that's where I'm at with my goals. But as far as encouragement for you guys, just remember, the bulletin board in my classroom, it's called The Power of Yet. And it has phrases like, I can't do this yet. I don't understand yet. So basically that's how I'm viewing this. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I am moving forward. The one thing, and this, my daughter hates it, it demotivates her. It's not for everybody, but I could not function without it. This, my handy notebook. It's my planner. It's my lists of things. It's goals. It's a menu. It is literally a planner where I write down every single chore that I have to do that day. And I don't know what I would do without it. I was kind of away from it for a few years where life just got too busy. I had some bad things going on. Couldn't focus, couldn't function. The pandemic, I just got out of the habit of the notebook. I got back to it last year and it has been a life changer for me, which I should have known. I've known all along I'm a list person, but yeah, I cannot function without this. I have my goals. I have my summer goals. I've got all these things are written in here, and it motivates me. It motivates me to look at this list and be like, okay, I have time to do this. If I start this first, then that can be washing while I do this. And it keeps me on track. I can look, I can prioritize, I can see what I can get done. I don't forget to do things. Do I get everything marked off the list? No. But if it is something that was time sensitive, like if I've told customers I'm putting in a Mary Kay order, I have that on my list. I know if something has to be mailed by a certain date in order to get where it's going in time, it's on the list. I don't forget to do it. So, yeah, this is a lifesaver for me. I love it. It motivates me. Now, I have days in here, even recently, where I have not done a thing. When I was on spring break last week, oh gosh, Monday, Tuesday, those were both really busy. Wednesday, I marked off 4 things. Actually, no, 3 things because my brother did one of them. But then Thursday I was back on it. I got a lot knocked out. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 1 thing, literally. I didn't even cook. My husband picked up supper. I didn't even go pick it up. So it is I have my days off. Everybody needs a break. Everybody needs to rest. But I was back on it the very next day, Sunday, where I knocked out more than I had all week. So I did good last Monday. It was pretty much the same last week. I stuck to it. Friday was kind of a lazy day. I worked on things Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, it motivates me. It motivates me to see things marked off. The things that don't get marked off are usually things that I can transfer to the next day. So, yeah, I don't understand the demotivation behind the notebook, but anyway, on that note, the only reason I'm bringing that up, that it demotivates my daughter. So I had this epiphany for her yesterday because she's just one of those, she's just a jump in and do. She doesn't like to sit and think about it. She says, she complains it takes me more time to make my list than it does to do the things on it, which is not true. But anyway, she thinks so. But I said, well, I have a better idea. Why don't you do a reverse list to keep yourself motivated? And that way, every time you do a chore or you get something done that needed done, write it down and, mark it off, initial it, something. And so that way you have that to look back on and be like, okay, because you get demotivated by you do all this stuff and then you look around and it looks like you didn't do anything. If you have this list and be like, no, but this is done. I took care of that. That's done. You can see you're moving forward and it motivates you to keep going. So if the list demotivates you or overwhelms you or you don't like to sit down and make it, write things down as you do them. Then you still have that record of what you did when. And that comes in handy a lot of times too, because it would be like, oh, how old is this leftover in the refrigerator? Well, I can look at my notebook. I'm like, oh, we had chicken pot pie on Monday. So we know when to throw it out. There's so many useful purposes for this. We're trying to figure out when my dad's next doctor's appointment is, because they are every 4 weeks or whatever. I can look at my notebook. Oh, I took you here. So we need to be checking when that next doctor's appointment is, things like that. So anyway, that's my goal check-in. I feel like I'm making progress. I feel like I'm moving forward. And the only thing I didn't cover was my craft supplies, craft projects. I have had to buy more yarn. That was because I have a new nephew coming. And for all my nieces and nephews, I make them their own blanket. So I am making Walker his blanket. He will be here in July. Again, I'm working on it like after I complete things in my class. So small little goals, and then I can work on it a little bit. But yeah, that's my goal check-in. Drop in the comments if you have goals that you are working on, and follow me if you want to stay motivated. Check in, watch my assessment of how I'm doing, and then reflect on your own. But yeah, drop in the comments if you want to follow this. I'd love to hear from you guys. Bye.